It ain't hard at all. I'm telling y'all.
Not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I'm out here working on the 6.4. I'm still waiting on my dash insert to come in that, holds my cluster, but that's off of airbrushing. So I'm like, I might as well knock out this Dakota digital, get this out the way. It's one less thing to worry about when those parts do come back. So I'm gonna bring y'all along for the ride. I know some people, they might want to put one in, they're scared of the wiring, they might be nervous about doing wiring, but I'm here to tell y'all it ain't hard. It ain't hard as you think, none of that. So I'm gonna take y'all along for the ride as I hook mine up, show you a few tips that might make you a little bit, not as worried about wiring, you know what I'm saying? Show you all the parts I got laying out here for the Dakota digital. I'm gonna show you the back of the original dash, so that kind of helps you a little bit because they got wrote down what lights go there and all that. I mean, it's pretty easy. It's pretty simple little process. So we about to get into it. So everything I got out here is what comes in the kit. Here go the actual dash. I'll pull this out. Here go the brain box. Here go, I think that's your water pressure sensor. That get your speedo, your new speedo sensor cable. Here go the switch that you go through your dash options. That's what that's for. Wire that up. And here go your oil pressure. And here go the cord that goes from this dash to the brain. So it's not many things, Here goes some fittings. That way when you're putting your temp sensor in and oil pressure sensor in, whichever options you might need, small block, big block. This will go to your speedo cable. On your transmission, you'll replace where the speedo cable go in with this pulse sensor. Then this will go to that, and that's where you get your speed from and your odometer meter and all that. And setup is pretty easy. So got a few inline fuses right here. I did these myself. You got just it'll advise you like when you're running your accessory power and your constant power to put like an inline fuse in it. So I got 2 of those sitting around, and this all you're gonna need. Most important, the brain, a sensor, your speedo cable, your switch options inside the dash, temperature gauge, cord to go from the dash to the brain box, and a few fuses. Other wires in the dash, we're gonna use those. So this is all you need. So let's get into it. I like to start with running the sensors first, because this is where you're gonna be doing like the most moving around. You gotta crawl under the car to put on the speedo cable. You gotta get under the hood to do your temperature and oil. So I like to do those first and just get those out the way. That way when I'm sitting in the car with the wiring, all the moving around is mostly done. So I'm gonna start with the speedo cable. I'm gonna jack this car up, show y'all where the cable go. Let's get started. So I got the car jacked up. It's a cable up under there you got to undo from the transmission. I'll show you when I go up under there. You'll be installing this new pulse meter. That's what's going to keep track of your speed and all that stuff now. Pulse meter. You screw the old cable out the transmission. You screw the new cable into the transmission. That's it. Run your cable through, run it up and into the engine bay. I'll show you all that. Then drop the car back down. You're good for that. You ain't got to get up under there no more. That's why I like to get this out the way first. So let's go. You're just out here just hanging out under people's cars, YouTube? Come on, man. Y'all got to do better than that. So check it out. Let me see if I can get some light. There we go. That's where your speedo cable right here will normally screw in. Had to unscrew before I started recording because of course I can't do both. But you'll see it screw in to, I can't really get the camera on there, but your speedo cable will be screwed into that. That's what determines how fast you're going and all that. And the new one which is the pulse sensor that comes with your kit. You would just screw it right into that, and then hook your cable up, and then just follow where this cable came from and run a new wire up. So that's what I'm about to do right now. I need both hands, so we'll be back. So as you can see, screwed it all in. It's your pulse sensor. That'll let you know the speedometer and your odometer. That's what this will go to. So I'm gonna grab the cable and run it on down. But as you can see, it just screws in place of the original speedo cable, and put this wire in and we'll be good to go. We'll go to the top and finish everything up. See, it just snaps right in. Push it into the snaps. There we go. Give a little tug, make sure it's on there. And like I said, I just wired it down. I'm gonna pull this old cable out, and I'm gonna take y'all back to the top so y'all can see what we're doing. Where I ran this cord from. I throw some light on there. So you can see I ran it. That's the cord. That's down there to the pulse meter that we just screwed into the transmission. So as you can see, I mean, they give you plenty of cord, you know, because this cord is going to run in and under the dash. So you're going to go in through this already existing grommet with it. So as you can see, you got plenty of cord to do whatever you want. If you want to put the brain in some crazy spot, you know, you got more than enough. So this is where I ran the cord up. This is where I ran the cord up from. As you can see, we're gonna run it straight through this grommet under the dash. Now that's where it needs to be. Next thing we'll put on, I'll put on the temp sensor. It's pretty, I mean, it's right there in front of the motor. And then of course, got the oil start the speed sensor. Only thing you're gonna need is the sensor, the cord, and of course you're gonna run it in there under the dash too. So I run all this stuff in there, and then once we get the wire, and I'll show you where they go on the brain, which is pretty simple. You can see it got your oil sending, you got your water, you got your speedo cable, and of course they color coded red wire, white wire, and a black wire. So it's pretty simple. But we'll get into all that when we start wiring. Let's do this part. So for me, I got this temp sensor. Somebody put the aftermarket coil pack kind on there, so I'm gonna unscrew this. We're gonna put the new temp sensor in there, and then we're gonna run it in through the grommet where we ran the speedo cable. So take this out real quick and show you. So now we got the temperature fuse in. As you can see, just screw into the block with the provided adapters. This is the old one. I'm gonna get rid of this, get it on out the way. It goes back there. And about to plug in this and then route it in. As you can see, I done plugged it in, plugged in the sensor cord, just ran it down back towards the firewall, ran it underneath everything, and right into the grommet hole. And that's it. As you can see, I'm back up under the car. Yeah. Forgot I got to crawl up under here to do this oil sensor for this big block. So let me show y'all where I'm at. So for the sensor, the old sensor, that's where it's sitting at, right by this old oil filter. This the can style. I gotta swap this out. But that's the old oil pressure. So we about to take that out, screw the new one in, and run the wire from it. Sometimes you'll have them like where they sit on like the back of the block, you know, the small blocks right there by the distributor. This big block one just happened to be right here by the oil filter, but we're gonna swap it out. And we back. So got the oil sensor tapped in, got the old one out. I'm about to put the cable into it and then run it up through the firewall. So you can see I got all the wires fed through the grommet. Got to pull them back through, and that's where they get wired into the brain box under the dash. So we got the 3 wires right here. Speedo, your temp, and your oil, all fed them through there. I'm gonna pull them through so we can start wiring them up. Okay, so now all we got left is the dash. Pull this out. We got the brain box. Pull this out the plastic. Go over some of these real quick. So here go the box to it. Got everything, got a wire up to it. Some of this you'll use, some of it you won't for this one. So we hooked up that sensor, we hooked up the temp sensor, we hooked up your speed cable that'll go to these. So we're gonna go in the car and then I'm gonna show y'all how to determine what wire is what. So the good thing about the old school wiring, you know, you got your turn signals, your fuel, stuff like that. You got a clock, which this has a steady power going to it. So remember that. So on the back, you kind of see it say like light blue, gray wire. What we got? We got the tan wire, another gray wire. Then if you come over here, you got a brown wire, light green, dark blue, dark green, blah, blah, blah. So let's go over a few of these. So the gray, you see, we're gonna get into them. He's gonna have some gray wires. These over here, gray wires. This just illuminate your old dash. That's all the gray wires are for, illumination. These two blue ones and the dark blue, these your turn signals. And the tan, let me see, get it right. Yep, there you go. Tan, that'll go to your brake sensor in the old way. So flip this back around. So everything with the grays would light your whole board up. You got the blue and the dark blue, that's your turn signal. And inside of there, you'll have that tan, that was your brake system, to let you know if something's wrong with your brakes. So it's another sensor that go to this. That's for your fuel. We're gonna use a wire from that. And also this was the clock in the front of the dash. So this always had a steady power going to it because it was a clock. It always had to keep it running. So we're gonna reuse this for our constant power on this, because this always had constant power going to it. That way you can use up some of these wires that's in the original dash and not have to rewire all these new wires. So like I said earlier in the video, I took my dish out and my dash out because I had to send my dish off to airbrush, waiting on that to come back. But the only thing that holds it in is some little screws right here. You'll see them. And they go all the way around. Just pull that out. And you will have to drop your column down to slide the dash out if you got the OG style big steering wheel to slide it out. But it's just a few bolts right under the column. It drops it down and it'll slide right out. And what I normally do is I'll detach the wire harness that goes in here. It normally plugs into those and everything runs. It runs the lights to everything. So I normally take this off, do what I'm gonna do with what wires, plug it back in, and we'll be good to go. I'm gonna explain that over here by the brain box. So look at the other piece of the wire harness. So as you can see, if it was sitting in the car, it'd be like this. So you have these wires going to this, and the part that extends down, you have these wires going to this. Your dummy lights, some more illuminated lights with the gray wires go in. And then you have this clock right here, which is this right here. So it's a clock wire. So it went on to that, had the clock. This wire has consistent power going to it. So I'm gonna reuse this for the consistent power on the brain box. That way it's just not a consistent wire. Consistent power wire just sitting back there. Also can reuse it since I know it's good. And let's wire some of this up. Zoom this out some. Okay, so I done broke down some of these wires. So these is mostly the wires you really gonna need. Then those over here, we won't be using these. You know, we won't need none of these wires over here. So you can either eliminate them, keep them, zip tie them up, you know, make sure no wires are exposed and nothing like that. So we got the gray wire, which illuminates all that up, which we'll be putting that into the dim because that controls your dash lights and all that. We'll be wiring this gray wire into the dim. We got, where's that? Let me find it. Here we go. Got this tan wire. You'll be running that to the brake. We have this green and black wire. Be running that to your high beams, because that go to your high beams to let you know you got your high beams on the dash. And you got your left and right turn signal. So your left signal should be this blue and black wire. Your right should be, here we go, just this all blue wire. So we got your dim switch, brake switch, high beams, left, right. We ain't doing 4-wheel drive, none of that. We ain't putting cruise control on it. It's a 64 Impala, so, and we ain't doing the LS swap and none of that. So none of that matters. So that's pretty much what you'll be taking off the original wire harness and running into these. I'm gonna do that real quick. Be right back. Okay, so right now, got all the wires I want to use and wired it to the brain box. So, like I said, we used the dim switch. It was 2 gray ones that went to that one and that one. So I just combined them and ran it straight to here. I could have used one, but I just didn't want to have another loose wire hanging. So I ran both those to this. We got this brown one, running that to brake. You got the green and where you at? There you go. Green and black. Ran that to your high beams. Then you got your left and right turn signal. So that's pretty much it. And then I still haven't decided if I'm gonna run this for my constant power source yet. But if not, I'll show y'all up under the dash. So I'm gonna tape this up. These are wires. These are just wires I'm not gonna use. Whenever you see a wire like that, it could be pink, purple with a black stripe with another wire connected to one of these. These are normally key on hot. So if you want to add some more accessories with the key on, you could use some of these. So I'm gonna tape these up. I'm gonna keep them because I might end up, adding who knows what. And I can use them for key on type stuff. So I'm about to tape this up, tape all this up, make it look nice and neat. I'll be back. So still got my 2 plugs that's gonna plug in to the existing wire harness. Taped all these up that I don't need, that I might keep or use later on. Some of those key on hot wires, those all taped up, capped off. So you got all the wires you're gonna use right here, turn signal, all that stuff. So now we're gonna go wire in your speedo cable, which it has a red, a white, and a black cable. So you really can't mess it up. We're gonna wire this switch up. This just controls the switch under the dash, to go through your options or whatever. Then you got your wire. It has a red wire and a black wire. Can't mess that up. Then you got your oil sending unit, the sensor. Can't mess that up. You got a red, a white, and a black wire. So it's pretty, it's pretty hard. You got a ground that you will run off this to ground the brain box out. You go your consistent power. Then you got an accessory power. Then you got to run a wire from here, from your tack into under the hood, and whether you're running a HEI distributor or a coil pack and stuff like that. And it has it, it'll have it in here too. Like if you don't know what you got, you're going here. Okay, if you got, old school distributor for your tack, you just gonna run this in here. If you got an HEI distributor, MSD boxes, etc., and you just follow the prompt for them. And that's about it. So let's go wire up these sensors. We'll be back. So now we back in here. I pulled all the sensor wires from out of that grommet hole that we was pushing them through earlier. So I got them. See how long they is. They super long. But we're gonna cut them because I'm gonna put the brain box maybe up in here somewhere, maybe mount it up in here. And then the ground wire, I'm running to a ground wire up in here, but I'll let y'all know where I run it. But I'm probably gonna put the brain box maybe right here with a self-tapping screw, and it just sit there that way. It's all out the way. It's not touching anything. All the wires will be able to sit there. The original wire harness, you know, connector right here, and you just got to go right there. So now, as you can see, we got all those wired up. As you can see now, we got the speed. Like I said, it's a red, white, and black wire. Red, black, and white wire. Can't mess it up. You got your water sending or temp, whatever you want to call it. You got your red and black wire. Red and black wire. You can't mess it up. You got your oil pressure. You got a red, black, and white wire. Can't mess it up. Only difference with the oil pressure one is, you see, if I can get it, see that raw wire? This is the only wire that is absolutely raw in the whole kit. And you will see that whenever you look through the instructions and start reading it. You would just run that raw wire with this ground wire into the same unit. And when you're doing these, you only need like 1/4 of an inch, just a little bit of wire. You know, that way you ain't got no exposed wires. You want them really tucked in there tight. Even on this side, you know, they all in there, as you can see. You want them in real good. So now we're going to run the constant power, the accessory wire, and the tack wire. And I'll be back. So as you can see, we still got all those, remember, from the turn signals. So right now I'm wiring up the tack wire, accessory wire, constant power. I'm putting the inline fuse in there with it, just to be on the safe side. Of course, we got the speedo, the temp, and the oil. So right now I'm just gonna wire up the tack. I'm gonna show you. I ran that through the same, you know, hole in the dashboard. I'm gonna show you where I wired it up on the coil pack. It depends on, like I said earlier, on the distributor, depends on which one you have. It shows you in the instructions, so it's pretty straightforward. So I end up running the tack wire down through the same grommet hole as everything else. So that's the wire that runs to the tack. Run it up here. And like I said, whatever distributor system you're running, it breaks it down for you. So now we got the ground hooked up. As you can see, we got the constant power hooked up. I end up changing and running it, you know, to my orange consistent power wire, and ran an inline fuse in front of it just to be on the safe side. Accessory power, ran an inline fuse with that too. And then I ran the tack, ran that out to the distributor, speedometer, your temp, your oil, you got your fuel wire in there, and I got to wire one more, that's to the switch. So now we got the adjuster switch wired in. So with the adjuster switch, you go, it'll tell you in the directions too. You go white to the SW2, red to the SW1, and then you take the black wire and bring it up here to ADJ negative. So these two go here, the black wire jumps up to here, and this just controls your switch. You can put this wherever you want it. I'm probably gonna end up mounting mine about right here. That way it's like right there. That way I can control your dash and stuff. So this is where I choose to put a self-tapping screw in. You got the wire that come out that goes to the actual dash. Everything, all the wires that we wired up. Now we just gotta connect those existing harnesses. So now that we done connected those, so this is where I end up using a self-tapping screw. So put it right there. You run the cord that runs to the actual Dakota digital. I just got to sit up there because, like I said, I'm waiting on my dish to come back. So we just testing everything. It'll show you how to use your preset. When you setting everything, where's the knob? When you go to setting stuff, you normally have to hold the number 1 down, then turn the key to on, and then go through the prompts until you get to what you're trying to get to. Normally when you get it, the lights are off, so you have to go in there, turn your lights on, however bright you want them. You got to fix your fuel. Like I said earlier, you go in and do that. If you want to set your time, you can set your time. To calibrate your speedometer, you got to drive a mile and have it set for that. So I'm not doing that right now. But I went through and set everything else. So pretty much when you turn the lights on, as you can see, you got volts, you got your oil pressure, you got your temp, you got your fuel. It's telling me to, you know, calibrate my speed, which I'm not about to do right now. Got your miles per hour and your RPMs. So, like I said, it's not too hard. Take a little time. Without recording, I probably could have did it in maybe a few hours, you know, not that long, just taking my time. But recording, it took a little longer. Stuff like that, and that's about it. You would go through, and like I said in the instruction manual, would tell you how to set everything, prompt everything. So it's nothing, everything is pretty straightforward. Hope that helped y'all. Hope that helps somebody, or a few things somebody might see and they might be like, oh, okay, I can do that. It's not too hard. Just take your time. Like I said, the directions are pretty straightforward to give you everything you need. So I went ahead and started it up. As you can see, we got oil pressure, temperature. I just started up, so we super cold already. Of course, we got the fuel. Like I said, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward.